Peace, family. This is Flirt Room coming to you today with another fabulous topic of discussion. I'm out and about in the Matrix in New York City, and if my voice is a little hoarse, it's because I am enjoying myself. And I have my sunglasses on, even though it's not sunny here, but I'm wearing my blue cobalt because I'm trying to see if I see anything different in the Matrix around here. I'm a little silly, but anyhow, I have a new topic of discussion. I'm going to, now this is interesting, is that I would have never made this connection ever in my life, and I had contact with beings that I apparently know. It's like I said, when I share it with you, it's interesting because you'll start to put pieces of the puzzle together of what's coming up in public eye about the Russians. Now listen, this was last week, and I wanted to make this video a little sooner, but I've been busy. There's been a lot going on. So listen, I came in contact with the Bolsheviks. Now, it's a particular bloodline of the Bolsheviks. Now, the Bolsheviks are a Russian, supposedly Russian political party that was in opposition of the Republic, right? To my understanding, yada, yada, yada. You can look that up, the Bolsheviks. But the Bolsheviks have a particular bloodline that I apparently had some dealings with. So listen, I came in contact with Bolsheviks. Now, these particular Royal Bolsheviks, for some reason I've known them. I don't know how, and this is why I say some of the things that come into my realm of perspection, making up words, in my realm of consciousness, let's just say that. It's sometimes things that I wouldn't normally be able to conceive or even be able to put parts of things together. Anyway, so I came in contact with this royal bloodline from the particular party, what we consider to be the Bolsheviks. Now, what was interesting about them is that they wore, as part of their royal status, these beautiful wings. Like, they weren't real wings, to my knowledge, but they were wings, like almost like you would see a costume. I've been in carnival before, so I've worn wings before, like these beautiful wings with jewels, all kinds of rubies and emeralds on them, diamonds, and the fashion was like red and gold. So the wings were like red and gold with all these beautiful jewels on them. They had adornment on their head and almost like a cape, and a beautiful like a royal family would wear if they're attending a big function. So listen, so I met up with apparently this particular sect of the Bolsheviks, this royal bloodline, I have some dealings with. Apparently they know me, I know them, and there's such a loving respect. It's more than just knowing each other. There's a long connection here. Now, I will say to you, I have such a respect and such a admiration for a lot of the different sects of Russia. And even though it's being demonized, and I know that they had something to do with, the election being, there was, the tall whites had something to do with the election, going into different timelines and messing with the timeline. And also, Trump has been linked to being connected to Russia and so on, which makes sense to me because his wife is also, to my knowledge, is, from Russia, Serbia, I believe, because I have a girlfriend who's also from the same town that Melania Trump is from. And I have such a respect for them. Just in the ET community, they have a plethora of knowledge and connection. Anyway, let's go back to the Bolsheviks. So I came in contact with these beautiful royal bloodline that know me, I know them. Such is a love. There is a respect and love. And I feel it, especially to the female. And I remember when I was going there, now this is in another realm. I travel in the etheric realm, and I travel and I astral plane fairly easily. I mean, I'm a woman of a certain age, and I've been part of this community, esoteric community, metaphysical community, occult community for a long time. I don't call myself anything but just a being who's well versed in many aspects of esoteric teachings and metaphysical, the metaphysical genre. Okay, let's just say that. So anyway, I'm with these Bolsheviks, And it's interesting because we're kikiing, we're chilling out, and I was saying how I wanted to show them where where to go, where I am. Now, when I'm with them, now I know that I was in Russia. That's why I'm saying time is not relative. Place and geographics is never really, we're not limited to anything, especially when we're going into the astral planes or into the to the etheric planes. You're never limited to your geography. We travel when we go into other, especially if you're meditating, or if you're going into night state. I don't say dream state because the dreams are probably more relative than they're not really dreams. They're you traveling sometimes, or memories, or resolvement, what have you. So I was where they were, and I remember opening a door, a beautiful door, and I had to unlock it. And when I opened it up, it was like a beautiful a pool, but it was a different kind of pool. It was like a stretched out pool that went vertical. Now, across to my right, there was a beautiful dome. Now, remember, in Russia, just like you would see a mosque or so on, their buildings are round. And they have sometimes, mosaic type of designs on top. Their landscaping is phenomenal. It's different. It's, different countries have their own architectural, their own unique architectural designs, which was unique. And I realized then that I was somewhere in Russia with the Bolsheviks. This particular line, and I want to say the Bolsheviks because the Bolsheviks, there's a lot of different people and entities part of the Bolshevik community, this genre of the political party. But I was with this particular bloodline. They were going in the pool with their wings and the jewels. It was so interesting. I've never seen anything like it. So as they're walking in, they're stepping into the pool, and their drapes of their cape is kind of lying on top of the pool. It was so amazing. It was almost like a movie. And their wings kind of stayed above the water with the jewels. It was like red and gold. And I'm going in the water with them. I notice when I look in my reflection, I have some sort of like shorter tiered crown on top of my head. So I'm thinking maybe that was something that was given to me by them. I'm not quite sure why I had that on my head. I can't really state. No, I don't think I'm royal because I'm quite flurboom. Anyway, so needless to say, I'm going to fast forward because I'm going to make a connection here. As I'm going and kikiing with my people, these are Bolsheviks, these are people that I know, this royal bloodline, I finish up and I say, listen, I'll meet you later. But one particular one came with me who was a family member of theirs. Now I'm walking with this female and I'm talking to her, and it's interesting because I realized that I talked to so many different people. I just do it so matter of fact. I didn't even notice. So I turned and looked at her because we were crossing a road. And when I turned to look at her, I noticed that her skin was patched up like a gray, white, maybe a little orange in it, patches like a cat. Patches all on her face and like little nodules that stuck up like this a little bit, but a little bent, not high, but a little bent. And she didn't really have hair. She kind of just had like a shag. I don't know what that is. And I looked at her, and it wasn't odd to me there, but as I'm reminiscing as I'm now, it was weird because I'm talking to her and she was a cat. And as I'm talking to her, I have an understanding that she is a Lyrian. And remember, there's many different types of Lyrian. This is a cat being that is walking with me, and we're kikiing, and it is a family member of these Bolsheviks who are wearing this beautiful winged adornment. Then I said to myself, oh my goodness, the Lyrian cat beings have some sort of connection genetically to a particular sect of Bolsheviks. And now we have to go into this illumination. Hold on. I'm thirsty. Yeah, I'm by Starbucks, and I have a very interesting drink. It's decaf, unfortunately, but it has some caffeine in it. Can't stop, won't stop. Anyway, so the Lyrians have some sort of bloodline connection to these Bolsheviks. And again, I think it's very interesting that we have this illumination and demonization of the Russians and Trump's connection to the Russians as if it's bad. And you know why I think it's bonkers that people have an issue with Russians or like, listen, Hillary Clinton lost in this timeline. We've jumped timelines. If you're in this timeline and Hillary's lost and Trump is won, we jump timelines. Again, thanks to the tall whites who did that. I'm okay with it. Trump has a good liaison with the Russians. Remember, he is not associated with the satanic Luciferian sect that lost, that was associated with Clinton and anything that had to do with that. That's why you see certain celebrities really going at Trump. It's not really Trump, it's the anti-Satanist Luciferian sect. He does not represent for that. He's actually down with the tall whites and the Russian sect. Now remember, the Russians have a whole bunch of intel on UFOs and ETs, but I realize they have their own particular contact with particular ET beings. And this sect of these royal bloodlines, the Bolsheviks, that wearing these wings. Now, you know what's interesting? Maybe those wings were not fake and they had something on top of them. And I can't say for sure because it was so beautiful. I was in awe of seeing it, but I wasn't shocked. That's why I know I knew them. And it's such a loving feeling, like they've known me. Like I felt like, especially the female, the woman who was wearing the actually adornment with the wings, with the jewels, walking in the water, I knew her. I felt like we've known each other for years. Like we talked like we hadn't seen each other for a while, but we've known each other. Like it was almost like a family member. So I'll go back to Trump. I noticed that everybody's like anti-Russian. Like it's the same with Obama. Like people had an issue with him maybe being Muslim. I'm thinking to myself, are we like idiots? Like, if you think that terrorism is based in a Muslim kind of genre, wouldn't you think it would be appropriate to have a president who may have ties to Muslim genetics so that there would be a good liaison? Remember back in the days when the kings and queens would marry into other, like let's say the King of Scotland had issues with the issues with people, possibly warring with France. They would in turn have the princess of Scotland marry perhaps the prince of France to create a positive liaison between the two nations and mend them together so that they're united. They're united as opposed to warring because of the two gene pools and the two nations meshing together. That's why I thought it was always insane that people had an issue with Obama. If he was Muslim, which it doesn't matter because he was raised by a European woman who was his mother. We already know our moms set the precedent for our belief systems and so on, especially if we're around them all the time. And his family members that were here that had nothing to do with the Muslim nation. That's why I think it's insane people had that. But even if he was, it would have been a good thing if we have so many issues with terrorism and all that stuff. But it's the same with Trump. Like, why do people have a problem with him having a great liaison with Russia? If Clinton won, we would have been at war with Russia. She started so much ish internationally, you cannot fathom the amount of backlash we would have had if she would have won with Russia. Russia's a very strong nation. Don't sleep on Russia. I'm not bigging them up and saying I'm a Russian fan, but I have an appreciation for them, especially in the ET community and their intel. And they've always listened. I've met many people from different cities and parts of Russia, and I will tell you, I appreciate the fact that I've always felt a certain kind of adornment and love and respect, especially as a person of color, with the Russians that I've come in contact with. And I've met many different people, even people from Croatia, because our family on Aquarius, right, Flurban's family, you guys are like so vast that I come in contact with people nationwide, like all over the globe, and especially from like Croatia, Serbia, other parts of Russia, like South Russia, southern parts of Russia, northern parts of Russia near Mongolia, I think. Who else? My Albanian friends, I have like 10 Albanian peeps that I grew up with. I mean, I've touched, and when I say touch, I know people. It's not just kikiing. I know their families. I know stuff. And it's always been I've always had a great respect for people from that particular region, just because it's been reciprocated. Like, I've met them, they've been wonderful, non-judgmental. I'm not saying it wouldn't happen, and I'm saying there are probably people who are just as heinous, but I've had such a good feeling about them. And again, in the ET community, they have a phenomenal intel and they've had technology that has superseded anything that could have humanly be given to them in our evolutionary process of technology. Okay, so there's something going on with me coming and meeting my people, the Bolsheviks. Big up to the Bolsheviks. Who would have known there's a connection between the Bolsheviks and the Lyrian cat people, who are part of the same bloodline. Now, again, this woman, who is my friend, who is almost like a family member to me, that is a Bolshevik royal, she had an adornment, like, mimicking wings. But it's interesting, when she got in the water, she did not take off the cape. But if I'm using my rational sense, if she's mimicking something, wouldn't she have taken it off? I think maybe she had wings, and it was an adornment like what we would wear over our own bodies or our own natural frame. We would wear something to, bling it up. And if she's a royal, she would wear something over her wings. And she was connected. She was a family member of this wonderful cat being that was walking next to me. We're just like talking, kikiing like nothing. And she had patches all over her face. But her face was more bleached. And this is another thing that I couldn't even fathom. Is I was saying to that being that I was walking with, because it was sunny, I said, well, I really appreciate my melanin. I do have an appreciation for who and what I am and what I've come into this incarnation with. I really have a love of self to a high degree. Sometimes I have days when I'm a little off, but for lesser. And I was making comments, I'm so grateful I have this melanin to protect me from the sun. And the being, and I don't want to say being because I don't remember her name, but I knew this was the same family member, the cat Lyrian being that's connected to the Bolshevik family, royal family that had the adornment wings. So I said to him, I appreciate my melanin, from the sun. And she had stated that she regretted that she had done something, I guess, likened to lightening her skin. That's why the patches on her face were almost lighter. Apparently, just like we have issues with, just like we do things makeup wise, or we change some of our physicality here in this matrix, she apparently was lightening her skin to lighten and lessen the look of the patches on her face. I don't know, maybe to make her look more normalized in public eye if she wanted to walk around, but the patches on her face were there. Like I said, it was like a gray, white, and a little orangey red, not red, but like orangey patches, beautiful, like a cat. It was a cat being, but it was lighter. I noticed that when she said it, I looked at her and it looked like she had bleached her patches. Isn't that interesting when you see all these women bleaching their skin and doing all these odd things? But even this Lyrian being had noted that they were doing the same thing, maybe to lessen the look of the patches, the beautiful patches on her cat being face. And her ears were there, but they weren't big. That's why it's interesting, because you see sometimes, I've seen photos of people who've had contact with the cat beings and they're different, but the ears, I would have, if I was conceptualizing it myself in my own imagination, I would have thought the ears would have been bigger. They were very tiny, like a little like this on top of her head. So anyway, I had to make this video. I wanted to make it last week. I couldn't. I'm in the Matrix. I'm in New York. I'm having a good time. I am a little tired today because it's the last couple of days I'm here and I'm trying to enjoy it and visit people and try to connect with as many people as possible. But I want to know if any of you, I'm in contact with a lot of beings. This, I couldn't even, I'm still a little in awe of it. I think it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful to come into consciousness and realize that this is the case. But I want to know if any of you have had contact with or even knew about the connection between the Bolsheviks, particular sect of Bolsheviks from Russia, and the Lyrian cat beings. Please tell me, or the bird beings that this beautiful royal Bolshevik woman had, who's a friend of mine, who's someone I've known. So if any of you, I would listen, this is a conversation we need to have, because Russia's coming up into the realm of illumination right now in public eye, and they're being demonized. And I have a problem with that. I have a problem with anybody being demonized to a greater degree, especially a group of people, because I come from, you know, melanin dominant people, and you know how people will put a broad stroke on all people, and it's insane because it shows the narrowness and the mind control and the you know, and the conditioning that the Matrix has done on people to create these kind of like, you know, views of judging people based on, you know, some sort of like false ideology, or these broad strokes of negativity that you know, you put on people, cultures, races, genders, all kinds of things. But please hit me up. This is a conversation we have to have. I'm excited about this because now there's a connection to maybe why this is being illuminated, and maybe there's the Luciferians are afraid of this Bolshevik royal family coming into alignment, or coming into, you know, because again, if I'm meeting up with them, and this is like, again, I'm conscious of it, but how many times have I done it and not been conscious, meeting up with this particular family that I know, these Bolshevik royal family, and how many times have I met these cat beings? I have no conscious experience with them except this one time. It's amazing. I think it's beautiful. I want to know who's in contact. Any of my Lyrian contactees, please hit me up. Comment below. Tell me if you knew there was a connection between them and the Bolsheviks. There's something going on, and they are genetically connected with these possibly bird-like Bolsheviks that are royals. So anyway, I know I get so excited. I love you. I'm sorry. I'm making videos a little spanned out. There's a lot going on, but I wish you well. Please comment. Any of the Lyrian contactees, the Lyrian contactees that are connected to the cat beings, please, I would love if you just make a comment and share any intel if you could, because I think it's important that we kind of connect the dots here. I didn't know there was a connection between the two, but I didn't even know that the Bolsheviks had this royal bloodline, perhaps bird-like beings that are connected to the Lyrians, which are cat beings. And remember, cats, why it's interesting, because we always think reptilian type of eyes and so on. Remember, cats and birds have the same reptilian type of eye. You know that, right? So there's some genetic similarity. There's some genetic connection between the two. I don't separate the two, because snakes, certain reptilians, cats, and birds have that reptilian eye, meaning they share some of the same genetics, which now is even closer, a cat being meshed with a bird being. Anyway, so hit me up, let me know what you're thinking, and I love you. So peace, Fleur Brown.